coming to a sunrise. So what my eyes, that moment I visualize is coming. If you can see me now, see I'm gonna break through the life I knew. Been waiting, a dream come true. Still aiming. If you could see me now, if you could see me now.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is that time again for another Hunter x Hunter review and breakdown. If you are just stumbling upon this video, this is me kind of documenting my first trip through this amazing series. We just finished the Chimera Ant arc in my previous video, and now we are starting the new Chairman election arc. And while I don't have nearly as much to talk about as I did with the last, the end of the Chimera Ant arc, we do still have some stuff to talk about. Some that I'm going to blow through because I hate politics, and some that we're actually going to get a little more nitpicky in it. If you guys enjoy the video, remember to drop a like, subscribe if you're new. I do at least one of these a week. And once we finish out the rest of what we have left for Hunter x Hunter, which is only like, from here on, we've only got, 12 episodes, and then we're done. I will be starting another series after that. But without further ado, let's jump into episode 137. So 137 kicked off with us getting our introduction to the Zodiac. Now, I'm going to be real with y'all. They throw a new group of characters at us every single arc. And after everything that we've gone through, I don't think I'll be remembering these guys. I don't find them very interesting. And unless they do something really, really cool, they won't be sticking. The only one that might stick is this guy, Pariston. They're called the Zodiacs because, Netero nicknamed them all after the 12 Chinese Zodiacs, in which some of them, adopted the names that he gave them. This guy, Pariston, is the rat, and I can see why, because he acts like a fucking rat. Nobody out of the Zodiacs likes Pariston. Pariston tries to basically immediately undermine what Netero wanted as his last wish, for all the hunters to vote on a new chairman. And he's just like, you know what? I'll nominate myself as chairman. I'll take it. We don't even have to vote. We'll just end it right now. Everybody can go back to their business. And he literally gets threatened by the entire group of the Zodiac. None of them like him. None of them want him to be chairman. But even he points out that you guys are only 11 votes. So we still gotta let everybody else vote. After some squabbling back and forth, Ging, Gon's father, who's also here, who's apparently the boar of the Chinese Zodiac, he also nominates himself, but they don't want him to win either. So they start all going back and forth on how they should structure the voting. This girl, whose name I can't remember, but she is the dog of the Chinese Zodiac, she comes up with an idea for them to draw lots. She grabs a notepad and pen, and it's just like, everybody's gonna write their rules down. We're gonna fold them up, put them in this trash bin, and we're gonna have Mr. Bean, this guy over here, randomly draw one out. Mr. Bean draws one out, and it's apparently Jing's. Now, this is the part that's crazy. We actually get a little bit of a glimpse into how badass of a character Gene actually is. So, Gene went up to Mr. Bean 2 days before this happened. Not only did he, as soon as he walked in to meet Mr. Bean, he requested that Mr. Bean put a notepad and pen near the phone in the meeting room and another trash bin. And literally said to him, it's going to come down to drawing lots. He explained why everybody was the way they were, and that it was going to come to them drawing lots. He wrote down his rules ahead of time and gave them to Mr. Bean. He predicted exactly how the entire meeting was going to go, including the fact that they wanted the names on the ideas of who would win. So when Mr. Bean went to draw it, he already had Gene's note. They even had a thing if they decided not to draw lots, or if Gene had folded his paper differently so Mr. Bean wouldn't get caught. But Gene's rules for everybody were every hunter can vote. Every hunter is also nominated. They can vote for themselves. They can vote for any of their friends. If there's not a majority vote, they will have to do a revote with the top 16 people of the previous voting, and so on and so forth, until they can actually cut it down. If they have to do another revote because there wasn't a majority, they would cut down 16 to 8, and then cut down and cut down and cut down until they eventually get to the top one. If they can't reach 95%, they would have a revote, and then he wants everybody's names on their votes. first, everybody freaks out because I guess Pariston is actually a dick. And Pariston has a bunch of people that don't like him, but are forced to work with him for whatever reason. They wanted anonymous votes because they knew people who didn't like Pariston would be able to vote against him, and there might be possible repercussions if he knows who it was, so they can't vote against him. So Pariston's all about this. Everybody else is just mad about it, but there was a fifth rule. That Gene would be the one in control of, the ballots, and he'd basically be like, what's the word I'm looking for? The mediator for all the votes. Obviously, that got nixed because he could manipulate the votes however he wanted. But that was part of his plan. I guess he threw in the fifth rule to make it easier for everybody to accept the first four, which it worked because those four got accepted, and the 12 Zodiacs became the task force for the votes, and basically everybody can vote wherever they want as long as there's at least 3 task members there. We get a couple cool shots. We get to see some of our old friends from throughout the series, all different hunters. Our boy Hisoka shows back up, but of course, him being Hisoka, he didn't put his name or anything on the ballot. It was just a blank ballot. So they tell him to just fuck off and go on. The Zodiacs ain't here for his shit. We get a couple more shots of some old characters. Biscuit, Kurapika's crew, Tezgara's crew, and this whole time everybody's walking by, Hisoka's sitting in the crowd giving everybody, numbers, basically rating their powers based on what he can from his experience, and he rates all the Zodiacs, and he's interested in them. As he's rating all the other hunters, he's like, I guess even pro hunters are nothing special. But then somebody with a 95 rating catches his nose or whatever, and he turns around and we see Gitaraka, aka Illumi, coming down the stairs. Why he's disguising himself, I'll never know, because I hate this look, but it is what it is. We jump back forward a little bit. We get to see the first results of the poll. Pariston in number 1 with the majority votes, 250, but they didn't reach the 95 percentile that was the minimum, so they had to re-vote again. Well, what actually caught my attention on this is as they're going through the list, we see a lot of people voted for. The bottom, tied for 46th was actually Gon, Hanzo, and 25 others. Gon's still in the hospital, and Killua didn't vote, or Kurapika. So I'm like, who voted for Gon? That's kind of funny, actually, when you think about it. But they all got 1 vote, so, just didn't matter. So Hisoka and Illumi end up on the roof, and Illumi is filling in Hisoka on everything he missed throughout the entirety of the Chimera Ant arc. Basically, it explains that, if he had played his cards right, he could have fought Netero or the Ants, which would have been fucking crazy. He would have loved it. But Illumi explains that Gon's in the hospital on the verge of death, and if things go the way they keep going, Killua might potentially die too. And upon hearing this, Hisoka actually shows, concern on his face. But the episode ends with Illumi telling Hisoka about the youngest member of the Zoldyck family. And then that's all we get. We get our first look at the back of this character's head. On to episode 138. Episode 138 kicks off with more politics. Twice now, they didn't reach their 95 percentile, and now they're figuring out how they can incentivize people to vote. Pariston wants to take away the licenses of anybody who didn't vote, or people that are putting in votes that are invalid. Basically, people showing up to put in their votes knowing they're not going to count. And we get a little shot of Netero when Netero explains that he didn't never liked Pariston, but that's the reason he picked him as the vice chairman. He didn't want someone that's always just going to say yes to him. That's not how he felt a leader should operate. And even Mr. Bean thought that Netero making him the vice chairman was a terrible idea because he's a manipulative little shit. Now, we jump over and we see, I don't know if you guys remember this guy, the cleanup dude from way back at the end of season 1, where Gon and crew went to the Zoldyck estate. He is calling one of the other cleanup guy, whose name escapes me right now, but they're talking back and forth, and I guess Killua showed back up at the Zoldyck estate, looking, very upset, and that's when they find out that Gon's in the hospital. Now, Killua goes and sees his dad, and he immediately tells his dad, I want to see Alluka. I didn't know who the fuck Alluka was. I do now. As they're talking about it, Killua, says that she is a member of the family. We have her locked up. I want to go see her. His dad's like, he is not a member of the family. Do not treat that thing like it's family. That is nobody. And this pisses off Killua bad. Killua starts flexing his aura, almost like Gon did. If you actually look, I try to get a good shot of it, but his aura starts turning blue like it always does, and then it starts mixing in with black. So it looks really, really cool and really, really pissed off. Enough that his father's guard dog actually, gets up and starts like growling at him until Killua just like, sit down. Killua ends up bringing up the promise that he made with his father to never betray your friend. And he's just like, if I have the ability to help my friend and I choose not to, isn't that the same as betraying them? And when he says this, his father, out of respect for him and the promise they made together, decides to take him to the basement. They go through a bunch of doors where he has to actually open with passcodes. It was like 5 or 6 doors, and then a vault door that you have to twist open. And when they get there, he asks Killua to recite the rules for Alluka. And this is where we start getting flashbacks and our first, real views of Alluka. And at the halfway point, we actually see Alluka's face, and they make Alluka look fucking terrifying. Now, here's what I found out in this episode about Alluka. Alluka can grant wishes, but there's conditions to the wishes. So in order to get a wish from Alluka, you have to fulfill 3 of Alluka's requests, no matter what they are. You fulfill 3 in a row, Alluka's entire face changes to this fucking nightmare fuel, and you can ask Alluka for anything. Alluka can grant any wish. And then Alluka's face turns back to normal, and now Alluka makes more requests. So, if you fulfill Alluka's 3 requests, you get a wish. If you tell Alluka no 4 times in a row, you die. And I have this ridiculous clip of what happens when you tell Alluka no. So you tell Alluka no 4 times, and you're immediately crushed. And it's not just you, it's you and the person you love the most. It's fucking terrifying. Now, that being said, Alluka, because Alluka's power is so limitless, there's actually a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a limitation, but a penalty, I guess is a good word. Depending on how big the wish is, the next request Alluka makes after the wish becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So, for example, say you want Alluka to give you a hug. Okay, cool, that's an easy one. Now, the next request Alluka makes, the next 3 requests Alluka makes are something easy. Play with me, lift me up, throw me there. Easy stuff. But if you wish for something like the death of somebody else, or a ridiculous amount of money, in this case, one of the butlers asked for $1 million. Now, the next request Alluka makes of somebody becomes that much more difficult. And it's kind of like they're paying for your wish. In this case, Alluka asked a person for their liver. The person said, no, I can't give you my liver. Then Alluka asked for their intestines. No. Then Alluka asked for their spine. Oh my god, I can't do this. The last thing, he's like, fine, then give me your brain. And when they said no, Alluka killed another one of the butlers and their lover. And 63 other people. I guess the bigger the wish, the more people have to die if you can't fulfill Alluka's requests. The episode ends with us getting our first actual shot of Alluka, and I don't know if Alluka's a boy or a girl. I will let you guys tell me what you guys think, but she is adorable. I'm gonna go with she from now on because that's what Killua calls her, and Killua is the only one that shows her any real respect. Everybody else treats her like a thing, but she is adorable, and with knowing what she can do, she's probably the most adorably scary thing I've ever seen in this fucking show. Now, the last episode, I'm going to blow through this because there was so much talking in this. It starts off with Hisoka and Illumi on a blimp, I'm guessing flying toward the Zoldyck Estate, where Illumi fills in Hisoka about the experiments they did on Alluka to try and figure out how all of Alluka's powers work. So, Yes, three requests, you get a wish. Deny it 4 times, you and your loved one die. They started discovering, the penalty that the bigger the penalties. They also figured out how it worked with the butler, where 67 people died, or 65 people. Basically, because the wish was so big, when one butler asked for $1 million, the next butler who wasn't able to fulfill Alluka's wishes, Alluka killed them, killed their lover, and then killed backwards all the people they spent time with, going in descending order up to the person they spent the least amount of time with. Now, I'm guessing the 67 was where it deemed enough to be okay with it, because there were still people that this person knew, but they survived because they didn't spend as much time as the other people. So it's like, depending on the wish, more and more people could die. Now, Illumi explains that Kilo wants to save Gon. We all knew that was the thing. That was the case. But that if Kilo goes through with this wish, he's knowing the way Kilo thinks, Illumi postulates that Kilo will have somebody else make the wish, and then he'll try and pay the price. And if he can't, he'll die. And because of how big the wish is and how much damage Gon did to himself, that it'll probably not only kill him, it'll kill thousands. And when you think about the people that he knows, the person that he loves most in the world is Gon. The person he spent the most time with is Gon. And it's funny because when Hisoka points this out, Illumi kind of gets offended, because he thought he was the person Killua loved the most. I don't know why the fuck he thought that. But as far as people that Killua spent the most time with, you have his family. He spent a lot of time with Hisoka. All the other hunters that he's hung out with, we can think of a lot of people that would get killed. And upon telling Hisoka this, he gets kind of worried. He actually starts sweating. But we also find out from Illumi about some of the experiments that they did, where their mother killed off, I think, 13 people, something like that, just trying to figure out how the whole thing worked. And even his brother, Maluki, got lazy and killed somebody off, and then made somebody else pay for him killing somebody, because he didn't want to have to do the work. Asshole, I know. He just had some random tourist and his lover get killed. So I guess the last wish that got made, I'm sorry they mentioned in the last episode, was that Maluki had asked Alluka for the newest model computer, and he got it. So that now whoever goes in has to deal with Alluka's requests. In this case, it's Killua. One last thing that we see, Killua gets in. Alluka's happy to see him. Alluka's first request is, hey, I'm happy to see you, brother. They hug. It's all fun. But then Alluka's first request is, I want you to die. And she does a finger gun, and we see his head disappear. His head gets blown off. Now I thought it was legit at first, because they cut from there back to the Hunter Association, and I was kind of mad about that. But that's neither here nor there. Back at the Hunter Association, they're tallying the votes again, and it turns out that now that they're enforcing this restriction with the invalid votes that people can't do, less people showed up. So now they start making a list of who didn't show up, so they can start collecting badges. Start taking away everybody's hunter license, which it turns out is actually making it so Pariston can try and twist it around again, because anybody with a lost license can't prove that they're a hunter. So if anybody lost their license as opposed to it getting taken away, then they can't be counted as hunters, and it becomes a fucking mess of him just being a manipulative fuck. Again, I don't like Pariston. I don't like the politics of it right now. I get what they're trying to do, but I was more interested in what was going on with Alluka. Now we go back over and we find out that Killua was just playing, because Alluka's like, okay, you can get up now, and he just pops his head out of his shirt. And the last request Alluka makes is, she wants a hug from Killua, so Killua gives her a hug, pats her head, and we see that his whole family's watching on the camera to see what's going on. And we find out there's actually more rules to Alluka's wishes that Killua never explained to us. It turns out that Maluki and his mother were experimenting on Alluka to figure all this out. Rule 1, after Alluka kills somebody from not fulfilling her requests, she resets, and now the next request that she makes are at the lowest level of difficulty. So easy stuff to make a wish. I guess that's the best time to make a wish, because you are the safest. Second, once Alluka makes a demand of somebody, she can't make a demand of somebody else. So what they would do to keep the parents safe is they would have her make a request of one of the butlers and then bring her to her mother and father so she never made a request of them. Third, if the person dies in the demand phase, as Miluki calls it, then it's as if the wish, it's as if the demand phase was failed. So now, whoever your level was dies too. Done. 4. If Alluka can't make a demand of somebody that she doesn't know. So if if she doesn't know your name, she can't make any demands of you. Which I didn't notice, but every time she made a demand, she would say, blank person's name, do this for me. And lastly, the same person can't make a wish twice in a row. Now, as cool as all that is, upon hearing the requests that Alluka made of Killua, Miluki's like, that was 3 by my count. Getting that PC was easy. This pisses off his dad because not only did he abuse Alluka's power without their permission, but he endangered somebody else, in this case, Killua. So his dad gives him like the death stare, and then he looks at the screen, he's wondering why Killua hasn't made a wish yet. Killua picks up Alluka, and he explains how he and his dad aren't very different. That while his dad called Alluka a thing from another place, he gave this the altered version of Alluka a name, and he calls it Nanika. And getting at the door, he asks his dad to let him out. His dad's like, no, and he tells Nanika, okay, in 30 minutes, if we're not down the mountain, I want you to kill my mother, our mother. If we are down the mountain, I want you to just give me a kiss. So they didn't know that you can actually phrase the wish as a kind of choice. So in this case, it has a condition now. At first, Killua's mother freaks out, but she's actually proud that Killua did something so cold and so necessary. She's like, my little boy's all grown up. It was actually hilarious to hear her say that. Miluki freaks out because he didn't know about this, and then Killua's dad decides to let them out. As he's going down the mountain, we get a flashback to when he actually had Nanika use her power to heal something. It turns out in order to heal something, she actually has to be touching it. She's just good at breaking stuff, not good at fixing stuff, as he put it. The last thing we get is them almost down the mountain, and Alluka gives Killua a kiss on the cheek, and you hear Killua's wish over again. It was cute. Alluka is a very, very interesting character, but as I describe her, the cutest, scariest character in the entire show. I mean, that scene when she just straight crushed the butler, if you were with me when I did that live, my jaw just dropped. Anyway, guys, that's it from me on this review. I tried to go through it a little fast. It was just a lot of politics, but this character right here is really, really cool. If you guys want to catch this live, I do stream episodes on Saturday on Twitch. Link to my Twitch will be down below, along with the links to my Twitter, so in case you guys want to follow me on Twitter, get any updates about the channel. But that's it from me, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. Later.